Hey everyone in chat. Yes, so I have on the screen a little agenda so everyone can kind of see what we're going to be doing on the stream today. We do have community questions in here, so we will get to them, but we have a lot we want to talk about first. And those questions will be coming from the forums. We've been gathering questions from people all week, but I'll also be looking at chat. So if there's any interesting questions on there, I'll see it and I'll ask. So don't worry about that. We'll take questions live as well. But I want to have everyone introduce themselves first. So I'll start with the person on our left here, Jorg.
Hi, everybody. Excited to be back. My name is Jorg. I'm the head of Flight Sim here at Microsoft.
Welcome, Jorg. Thank you for joining us again. And we have in the middle, Seb.
Hello, I'm Sebastian Wloch. I'm head of Asobo Studio here in France.
Awesome. And on our right, he didn't make the last one, but he was in the first one.
Yeah,
we have Martial.
Sorry about that. Yeah, very sorry. I couldn't make it the last time.
It's all good.
And I'm very pleased to be back with you guys.
Yes.
So I'm Martial, yeah. if you want to be completed. I'm Martial. I'm the executive producer of Flight Sim.
Awesome. Glad to have you guys on here. So we have a lot to talk about today. So we'll just go ahead and dive right into our dev update roadmap talk. I'll just go ahead and pass it on to you, Jorg.
Yeah, I'll keep it short. I mean, I wanted to give a quick update on the updates. So we had planned on launching update 5 yesterday. And just as we were finishing everything, we found a few bugs on some of the autopilots that really needed to be fixed. And the fix is done and it's verified and the build is now in cert. And we feel good about it, getting it out very soon. Might be this week, so just stay tuned. As you probably know, this is the first wave of VR with closed beta, and we're looking forward to getting a bunch of feedback on VR. It improved things like sensitivity and twitchiness on some of the planes. The autopilot we talked about, the press any key to continue start screen is gone. It's now automatically skipped, so yay. And then there's a host of other things. There's also a fix to weather. Seb, I don't know if you want to give a quick update on that.
Yeah, so then this is actually a server-side fix. We discovered an issue with one of the CDNs for the metadata and the cache in there. And basically some of the data may have been old sometimes, up to 24-hour old. And so basically, yeah, when data is old, sometimes it can be the same and you don't see the difference, but sometimes it's totally different. And so this has been fixed on server side today. And it should be a big improvement because, I mean, this is one of the questions, so we'll dive later into it, but metadata is actually used quite heavily in the sim. And so when it's wrong, you see it all over the place. So that was an important fix.
Yeah, and besides that, I mean, there's a bunch of fixes, and we'll put the build notes out either today or tomorrow. So we are supporting the Thrustmaster Quadrant Airbus Edition coming out, super cool. Bunch of the other things that you guys pointed out, night lighting, water reflection, the huge hole in Brazil, even though we all kind of got to love it. It's not
I'm a little sad that that's being fixed.
You know? Anyway, so that's update 5. We hope it's coming to you this week. And then update 6 is what we think of as a smaller update, but basically doing it for the Honeycomb Bravo throttle quadrant is coming out. We're super excited. I think it's super cool. So we're going to support that. And then there's also VR Wave 2. And Seb, maybe you want to speak to there was some good improvements made on perf.
Oh yeah, so our engine team just finished some optimizations on performance, which are right now in test. So yeah, this should make it into the next update, the one which is not insert right now. It's a big improvement and so we measured on an average of 6 frames per second up to 10, and it's more on the CPU side. So for those of you who looked more into the details of when you display performance information, like the main thread thing, which sometimes bottlenecks everything, that is way down. What that means is that people who have invested into higher end graphic cards will get higher frame rates if it was blocked by CPU. Basically, anything CPU will get faster.
Awesome.
And also people who had lower end CPUs. It basically improves all the multi-threading. There's still room for improvement later down the road, but this was a big step we made. So yeah, it should be out in the next update.
So that's update 6, and then update 7. That's all on the development roadmap if you want to look at where the rough dates are. Update 7 is United States. We call it World Update 2, United States. The DEM. So we got. I hinted at that last time. We got great DEM from the Bing team. It's 1 meter in many cases, and it's awesome. We have also completely new aerials for many areas. So I think fundamentally the visual appearance of many states are going to be significantly improved. I wanted to give a little bit of, and I should have did it last time, but I just forgot. I wanted to say which airports we're bringing, because one of the things I'm sensitive to, or we are sensitive to, is that third parties are also working on airports, and we really love those, and we want to give our roadmap so that we can avoid collision as much as possible. So for this particular update, update 7, we're producing Atlanta International, Friday Harbor, DFW, and New York Stewart International. So those are the 4 that will be free. And then we have another about 50 POIs of some awesome, beautiful places in the United States, or great, well-known landmarks. And then there's a bush trip. If you played the bush trips, they're really interesting. And so we have an Alaska bush trip that's coming with this update, and it's in good shape. So that's coming late November. All right, so that was the updates. Let's see here. Third parties, I just wanted to say we're super happy with what's going on. There's tons of cool airports, as I just said. We've gotten a few more. Like, I asked some of the developers to give us the final features that they want us to implement. Like what's the next thing that would take airports even further? So we're going to start talking about that now. And then on the Plane SDK, there's quite a bit of progress being made. Seb and I were just chatting over the Aeromachi that came out last week. Super cool. And that was the first military trainer jet. So you can see that the SDK is coming together, and more planes are coming. We were really happy with the Quality Wings announcement of the 787. And then the CRJ from Aerosoft is making great progress, and I think that they're showing it really well. So we are excited, and it's great to see the support from third parties coming to the platform. I wanted to say one more thing about something we talked about a lot in the run-up to launch, that we have this principle on the team that is no pilot left behind. What we mean to say is anybody who wants to have fun flying, become an aviator, virtually or in real life, that we want to help. And we did a bunch of work on this, and there were many features that we had for launch. But that all said, we know that there's more work to be done, and we are in active conversations with quite a few folks that have deep insight into this area. And to show you that, we're going to add a 3rd page to our feedback snapshot that comes out weekly right now. That will just be features that are relevant to accessibility, to our accessibility roadmap, because it really is super important to us. So hopefully that's useful. Fan projects, amazing, but I think we're going to get to that in a little bit later when we talk through the feedback snapshot. And then I just wanted to touch on 2 pieces of news that came out over the last week or 2 since we last talked. The first one was Xbox VR. Ooh, Xbox VR. Well, it's not quite that. And I wanted to, Martial, if you could just explain what's actually going on and why that was there. Yeah.
Yes, well, this string has been found into the binary of the SIM. And it's basically nothing related to a VR headset on Xbox. It's, when you do like some switch cases, we are working on new UIs, and these new UIs will be like an improvement for the consoles with the pad, and also for the SIG stuff. And that's why it's the kind of work that worked for Scarlett and VR. And that's why you can find that kind of string in the executable. I'm very sorry, we are not going to announce the VR headset right now, right?
No. Anyway,
so sorry for that.
New interaction model, which is super cool, coming our way. And then the other thing that made news over the last few weeks was like Google Objects. Obviously, we can't really talk about this too much now, but I can say I just want to say we are bringing tons of new objects to the sim. We're making, as I said, we're making world updates, and I just finished the roadmap with David actually over what the world updates will be over the next year. And so we are planning on doing hundreds and hundreds of POIs over the next years. And the Bing team is super engaged. So I think our world is in really good shape, and you'll see that over the months that are coming. Anyway, so that's enough talk just from us, though. Let's go. Jane, I know you have some questions
quickly.
In the chat. So
I saw something in the chat that's popped up a few times already, and we obviously have announced the VR closed beta. They're wondering, is there going to be any public beta for VR, or is it going to hop straight into launch?
Oh, that's a good question. So public beta. I mean, right now we're focusing on the Windows mixed reality devices, and we said that for a while, right? There's the Reverb 2 and Reverb 1 and, Galaxy Plus and all those. So they got basically more attention by the team. At a later point in time, once we're in good shape, they were going to support the other ones. And at some point it might make sense, because we're not going to get to everything. So, given that VR is free, I think we're just going to have an update that says, here's VR, everybody. And that it's not going to be every single thing is perfect. You never get there. And so I think that's why it's so important to work with the community and get feedback. And in this case, we can call it a beta if we want to, but we're not charging for VR, so it's free anyway. So I think it's just going to be a big VR update that is broader than just the Windows mixed reality ones.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, that's great to know. We'll go ahead, and there's a lot to talk about regarding the feedback snapshot. So I'll go ahead and pull that up so it's on the big screen. All right, here we go. So we have our latest, this is actually coming out tomorrow, but this is our top bugs right now, as voted on by the community in the forums. So if any of you guys wanted to talk about these, I'll go ahead and let you go over them. The first one being the autopilot issues.
There's lots. I mean, autopilot is a vast subject. Is there more specific items in there?
There's a lot. I can certainly pull it up if you want to go into more depth about it.
Because I mean, I can talk a little bit about the improvements which are coming. So, for example, in the update which is tested this week, a lot of the formulas have been improved. For example, when the plane intercepts altitudes, it works better when it is on ILS capture, automatically landing, or automatically flying on final. There's an improvement so that it reduces the catch up to the ILS glide slope when you get close to the runway, because, well, at the very end, the ILS becomes very, very inaccurate, and so you can't follow it exactly. There's improvements which should, for example, fix the longitude pitch. That's in the current update. There's updates like that.
Okay.
And then there's other bugs we're fixing right now, which are targeted already for the next update. So it really depends on the specific details, and if there's more detailed questions, I can say when we're addressing.
Sure.
Yeah, I think this is a global. This is fairly broad, and honestly, we read this every day. The feedback. This one is the Garmin G1000 and 3000 improvements, and then general autopilot related issues. So this is a little bit more on the Garmin side, I think, this particular point. So,
yeah. So, like, for example, properly editing routes in flight. I know that's been an issue for some. Utilization of SID-star approach entries. Sometimes they're missing or erroneous. And direct to functionality, that kind of stuff.
So I know that we also have got issue with CDUs and the flight plan. There's a lack of coordination here. That should come soon. We're working on that. So don't worry. These bugs have been, or these problems have been identified, and we've got a team working on these features.
Awesome. And there's a few that we're wanting to know if they're bugs or maybe they're just not implemented features yet coming down the road. Like VNav is an additional feature. Is that something we're looking at as well?
So yes, we have an NF. So it's a vast subject. It takes time to do that correctly, and so we're talking about that. We've got like a thread, and we've got some discussions to see when it's going to happen. But we are working on that.
Awesome. Okay. And the next one is about live weather. What we have, one of our top community questions goes over a lot of live weather questions. So I don't know if you'd rather talk about it now or when we go over all the questions.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, okay. So I'll just skip to that question anyway. So obviously live weather is a huge discussion within our community right now. Something that they would love is some kind of clear technical, like end-to-end understanding of how live weather really works in the sim. So there's a few questions maybe you can answer here right now for us that might help us understand it a little better. So yeah, one of the first questions is, how is Meteor Blue data, model data modified / supplemented for use in Microsoft Flight Simulator besides METAR info?
So it's, I mean, besides, it's actually a blend between METAR and Meteor Blue.
Okay.
So but it depends where you are, right? If you are, the problem is, I would say one of the problems is that the data source is not the same depending on what you're looking at. If you're in the sim and you're looking at wind speed, anywhere on the planet except in an airport, you will get Meteor Blue data. And which is basically depending on altitude and depending on, right, it's the if you look at the video, it's going to explain, right, they have very high resolution boxes, and so it's really 3D data, and so this models Jetstream, all these things. But when you get closer to an airport, at ground level only, like if you're high in the altitude, that doesn't be affected. But when you're at ground level and you get close to an airport, it seamlessly blends in the metadata of the airport, and that data. So with the bug fix I just explained 15 minutes ago, this data, I think meta is every 30 minutes or something. So every 30 minutes it updates the metadata of the airports, and that will be blended in. So you're not going to actually see Meteor Blue data when you're on the runway. And one of the reasons is that Meteor Blue data is these boxes, right? And the boxes will not always align with a runway or whatever. And on an airport, metas have a very specific description of where they're supposed to be, how high, where they're located. And so sometimes you may look at, so we've done a lot of, obviously we see people complaining about weather, so we spend a lot of time looking at, so going outside, looking at data, looking at the meta, looking at various weather sources, looking in the sim. And sometimes you can have a meta which is not exactly Meteor Blue, but if you're in the sim, you will have the metadata. And with the bug fix on the server, it should be a lot more accurate. Before that bug fix, sometimes because of a CDN cache issue, it was old, and so it can be sometimes wrong on that part. If you're in the world map, however, there you only get Meteor Blue data. You don't have the metadata in the world map. And so if you look at an airport, there's sometimes a little number with an arrow which shows the wind. That's actually depending on if you open the filters, if you choose ground, low, or high altitude. And so for example, if you show high altitude, I mean, I tested right today on Bordeaux, high altitude, it was 50 knots on Bordeaux. Obviously at the ground, we don't have 50 knots right now. But if you choose ground, then you get the ground wind. And that's again the Meteor Blue data source. It's not exactly the meta, and the resolution of that same is the box thing. So I think we're talking about currently of if we can have the metadata actually showing up also in the world map, so that when people are preparing flights, also they can actually have the airport metadata instead of Meteor Blue. So it can be off sometimes on the world map, and that's for wind, and also important on the world map. When people say low or high or ground, it's not actually going, so basically low, it's depending on the pressure. Like the data we get is isobar lines. So we get, we look up the wind at 1000 hectopascal, and I think then it's 700 and 500 or something. And so depending on the pressure you currently have, the wind isn't even looked up at the same altitude in the world map. So this is something we're looking into to make it just more, so that everything shows the same values. So it's basically not the same data source depending on where you are. But in the sim, you should have correct metadata depending on if you're close or not to the airport.
Okay. So in update 6, you said we're going to get that fixed for the metadata cache.
I know that's server side, so it should be live right now.
It's live now.
Without update 5.
Yes,
Update 5, okay.
Yes, it depends on the update cycle of the CDN.
Gotcha.
There's actually, just to say that here, like there's a little bit of an issue with the feedback snapshot in that when the topics are very vast, what you're going to end up getting from us, truck, what you're getting end up from us is partially fixed, because some things were fixed and some things are not yet fixed. So we should think about that. Like, I mean, I would say, hey, please, community, maybe be a little bit more discreet in the exact thing that you would want us to look into. It'll be clearer what's actually going on this particular level. Because I remember writing this. Partially fixed is sort of an unsatisfactory answer. Like, okay, partially fixed, what does that mean? It's on the backlog. Oh, we fixed a bunch of stuff, as you just heard, and there's more stuff to do, and it's on the backlog. So it's, you know, it's something to think about, honestly. I mean, you all are in control of what we're getting here, and maybe just be a little bit more precise if you're so inclined.
And yeah, that's something we can do on our side as well. So we'll definitely be taking a look at that so we can really make these feedback snapshots as accurate as possible. Since we are talking about weather, I might skip down to one of an issue on here that I'm seeing a lot in chat right now, and that's regarding the lightning. And people are wondering more about if there's a fix coming soon for the lightning, and if you know any more details about that and why it's happening so much.
Well, it looks like in some area of the world, the lightnings are happening too much. It's under investigation, and so I don't have any information right now. So I know, for instance, that very close to the Bahamas, there's a lot of storm and no, not storm, lightning, and it shouldn't be that frequent, and we'll have to fix that. There's also a topic about the icing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so same for the icing. So for the icing, we used a formula, because by the past on the simulations, it was just like an ice condition that was turned on and off. Now we've got, it's more progressive, right? It goes to low condition for icing to severe conditions. And it looks like the formula we've got from the French forecast station, it's a bit too aggressive, I would say. So people are complaining that the icing happens too quickly, and which is too strong. And we are going to spend a bit some time here to reduce the icing effects, and also to taking in account a little bit more the clouds and the composition of clouds and the humidity factor.
Gotcha. And let's see, going back to the lightning issues, reading chat here. The main concern is that, you know, even when you're in clear skies anywhere you go, right now there's just an excessive amount of lightning, and you said it's under investigation right now, so they're triaging that, and once they figure it out, we'll update the feedback snapshot.
Yeah, I think Martial is saying an investigation, but it's not always all the time, because sometimes the difficulty we have is that for example, I spend probably 5 to 10 hours a day in the sim, so and sometimes you just don't see the thing. So I think it may be local, what Martial says. It may be also maybe on some machines, because I've never seen these lighting issues, but I've heard a lot about it, so I know it's somewhere. And when they have investigation, that means we need to find what the cause is actually. I mean, we can easily cut lighting, of course, but that's not the goal, right? We want to have lighting which is based on real world data. And it may be in the data source, it may be in the cache of the data. Yeah. Something which just puts lighting where it shouldn't be there. And so we need to find the exactly what is causing this to fix the issue.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, this is typically, and when we go to our testers, we have to say, hey, can you get us a solid repro case? That's always the thing, right? A programmer can observe, and then you at some point you need to break into some code. So it's, if you have a repro case that you can say this is always happening all the time here, that's useful. So, and obviously we have Zendesk, so just help us find it. As Seb said, it's there for sure, but it's not everywhere, and it's not prevalent all the time.
Sure. Okay, and well, I'm looking at the feedback snapshot. We have night lighting terrain emits light. That's looks like it's already done and coming out.
So this one is something I think we talked about on the last Q&A session. So I think last time I explained that there was really several issues here. One being that the night lighting terrain map that we had was a little bit, first of all, maybe not high res enough, a bit blurry, and also had a lot of fake positives, right? There was light where there shouldn't be light. And the other issue was that it was sort of coming in way too soon. And so at airliner altitude, something like, I don't know, 10,000 meters or 11,000 meters, it was already all sepia texture. And so there was these two different issues. So the thing we improved a lot with the update, which is being inserted right now, is that the street light of, I would say, all the major streets like highways and primary, like all the big roads, they now draw, instead of being completely gone at 10,000 meters, they now go to 30,000, so 30 kilometers. So they draw 3 times further away. And the sepia texture, which was really initially there for super far long range, this has been pushed far out, right? So at airline altitude, you should now see the streets instead of this texture, and you have to go way higher to actually start seeing it more. There's still areas in the world where this texture has a lot of false positives, where I don't know why it's supposed to be dark black desert and there's light. This is going to come from a better data source for the night Earth coverage, which is a second issue. This has not been solved yet. What has been solved is that we just basically pushed the distance of all the night lighting out. And also there was cases where basically it was a little bit buggy the way lights were generated on roads. And so for some roads, there was actually no light at all. And sometimes there was plenty and it was all random. Now it's a little bit more regular. And so I would say we would like feedback, right? Maybe it's a little bit too regular now. We can add back a little bit more random. But definitely there was roads which had no light at all. And now they have, like highways have lights as they should. And so I think it should already look a lot better. And feedback is welcome, of course, if we can take this further.
Awesome. That's great to know. I'm reading chat here. What about runway lights during the night? Oh no, I missed the question. Is there any, let's see, is there more important when you want to land on the airport with lights that cause a lot of runways that don't have lights on it? Is that something we're also looking at?
I was not aware of this. I don't know.
No. We are doing, it's a matter of database here. We are doing lights on airports when they're supposed to have. So if the database is not updated enough, maybe some are missing the lights, but it should not. So if we can have a list of these kind of airports, we could investigate furthermore.
Perfect. Okie dokie. And I am going to hop over to the community questions now, because I think a lot of them are actually going to line up with our feedback snapshot anyway. But the first, actually, this was the most upvoted question this week. So right now we have Russia seems to be in an interesting state, especially northern Russia. So the community wants to know if there are any plans to improve the situation with this territory, or if there's any third-party developers taking this on.
Yeah, so it's a great question. I agree. So there are a couple. I actually would say, so I agree with Russia, but when you look at Sweden, it's actually a very similar story. So we are constantly on the hunt for new data sources, and in the case of the Nordics, I think we have been successful. In the case of Russia, it's currently focused, actually. So we are intending to update Russia sometime next year. But we are still, like, sometimes you end up talking to the government if they have certain data sources that they're willing to share with us. So, but it's definitely known, and we're very dedicated to making this good.
Wonderful, thank you. And the second most upvoted question is about AI traffic. So currently AI traffic leaves much to be desired and needs more realism and consistency. There's freeware groups out there like AIG and AIFP. who would love to help if they had a chance. So what's Asobo's plan to address AI traffic? Is there something in the works? Are there any third parties that have been working on this or want to work on this that you're talking to now?
Jorg?
Well, I could speak to the third party
Yes,
side.
you can pick
I just had a call this morning about this exact topic, as a matter of fact. I think, well, this is one of those where I would say I see it as two components. I think the question is probably going more than one way. I think the realism, like David, creative director, who's sitting, by the way, right next to Seb, he said to me a year ago, he said, hey, to really get the realism up, we need to get as many of the what we call passive planes correct as we can. That means the plane models are the right plane models, the liveries are the right liveries, and they're obviously in the right location. We get that from FlightAware. So we're working on that. We're trying to find, and so we are going to do this for free. So we are currently working on a bunch of models that are going to populate the skies, and they will most likely, we haven't quite decided. It's either going to come out with the sim update or with the world update. We haven't quite decided yet, but just know that we are dedicated to making sure that the planes that are in the air will be appropriate. I think there's a second component that's probably more important here, which has something to do with behavior, maybe.
Another one is there's just a lack of AI right now. Do we plan on just increasing that in general?
And I've seen a question on deliveries too.
Okay, so should we answer that first? Here's the thing. So we are trying to be above the table on everything, right? As you know, so we are trying to license everything, and have to make sure that it's completely legal and supported by the owners of the various IPs. So when we say we're going to populate the skies with planes, we want to be in a position where we're legally allowed to actually have those planes, because they're not our planes, right? They're owned by the manufacturer. So we are talking to just about all manufacturers on this planet about having the rights to basically draw their planes and sim. And the same is true for airlines. And frankly, don't know if you guys have any specific angles, but we would like to officially license all airline liveries, literally. What's happening is, so we have actually people dedicated to this on our team. And I think the airlines have probably different problems right now than talking to us about licensing us their liveries. But we go to them frequently and say, hey, can we please get your liveries so we can make do the right liveries in the product to make sure that it's authentic. And I think it's just a matter of time. It's at some point, I think there's when you think about the vision of the future, I would love to be that every flying vehicle is the correct flying vehicle as far as the model and as far as the livery is concerned. It's just going to take us some time to get all this stuff licensed.
And speaking of liveries, real quick, do you have any updates on the Aviators Club livery pack that was supposed to go out last month?
It's coming.
Still coming? Okay.
So the issue is, from what I remember, is so we're trying to put the livery on all the planes, which is actually kind of a big job. And then the first batch we got, I think it had 55 or so bugs, which is some stuff's not quite right. So we are working.
Gotcha.
There are very dedicated people at Asobo working through this right now, but it's a complex issue. And yes, we're behind. It doesn't feel great.
Yes, and and there's also a technical reason for that, because we've decided to make these liveries. There's different techniques to make liveries, and the one we're using, it's really a decal which is sticked to the model. So for fixing bugs, we did for releasing the flight sim, we did some improvements on the model. So you've got to do the improvements on the decals themselves just after that, and it's time consuming. So it was both of technical time and decision we made to work on IPO stuff.
Got it. That's okay. We were just wondering, making sure still in the works. And community was wondering if it was fallen off or if it's still happening. So that's great to know. Let's see. The next question is in conjunction with airliners and the SDK. So with a big question is, what are the SDK features that are holding back third parties to update these complex aircraft, and what's the priority for us on fixing that?
Monsieur?
So, well, probably we are not the best person to talk about the SDK because we've got a dedicated group of people and they are talking every single day to the third parties and to the plane manufacturers and airports. And so there are ongoing conversations. So I don't feel very confident to tell you exactly what all the last things they've done.
I think the few, I mean, so I sit, I do sit in the SDK team. So it's like, I at least know what's being talked about. So the CRJ from Airsoft is a very good example of how this can work. And it's working, and we're sitting, it's like Seb sits there on Discord with the developer. It gets lots of interaction. And I think fundamentally, there were some things missing in our WebAssembly modules, but I think that's quickly going away. Like, and there are some more things open on the audio side. Some things that is not quite right yet. I think the GDI Plus stuff, I think, is coming together. But fundamentally, I think the issue is that some of the existing planes have a lot of code, a lot of, let's just call it legacy code. Doesn't mean it's old per se. It's just the code they already have, and that code needs to be ported, and that takes time. So it's not really the problem that our system doesn't work. It's just a lot of time to get it to work. And you can see, and I actually would love to talk about the Flyby Wire stuff. And there's other groups, obviously, like Working Title, and we pay a lot of attention. And it's super interesting to see how much they get done. And I think that's probably the indicator that matters the most to us. It's like it's definitely possible. Look at how many changes that they've already made successfully, and the plane is clearly improving a lot. So I think we're really just in a transition period. This is a new platform. It has some new tools. A lot of the tools are flat out better, and some of the tools are just different. And different takes time. That's all it is. But is it technically possible? For sure.
Yeah, and
well,
go.
I'm going to say again what you said about the past, but basically the SDK shows the exact same tool we're using to make planes and to make our assets. We are not hiding any functionalities, or it's the same stuff. So everything we've done can be reproduced and done again by others. But as Jorg said, these are new technologies, and it takes time to digest what has to be done and to adapt the things that have been done by the past.
Yeah.
But for what it's worth, right? Like, we're obviously the platform holder. So I would just say, I would encourage you to read some of the updates that Matis makes from Airsoft, which is an unassociated third party, and I think he's giving us lots of both constructive input. Like that's just by coming, but it comes from the process of working on the CRJ, right? They have issues, they send the issues to Asobo devs take care of the issues, and everybody moves forward. And as I think it's been accelerating, and certainly the feedback we get is quite positive that we're going in the right direction with high speed, and that Asobo has been a great team to work with, which I believe that too. But just know, like, we're on this. This is not an instantaneous thing. Some of these planes took those folks years to make, and therefore it's going to take them a while, not years necessarily, but it's going to take them a while to port them over to the new system, and that's just the way things go. But they're all in contact with us, and they're all very interested in coming to the platform. There's no question.
So, with that being said, is the priority more on letting third-party developers handle, airliners, or are we planning on improving those as well?
So it's important to see that the SDK team and the planes team and the platform team, they're all totally different teams. The SDK team is very big, and their goal is really support of third party. The plane team is we're working heavily on airliners, and so I've seen here, I have quite a few in front of me. So, for example, one thing that people were complaining a lot is the lack of elevator authority at low speeds. And it was happening a lot with two planes, one more than the other, actually. But it was, in the code, it was two planes. the A320 and the 787. And the cause here is that these two planes are different from all the others. These two planes are fly-by-wire. So instead of having the user input, I don't know, you pull the yoke and it moves the elevator and that's it, right? If you pull the yoke, it moves the elevator. That's how it goes. These two planes, you pull the yoke, it just talks to a computer and says, hey, pilot wants to go up or something. And then the computer takes a decision. And the problem is that these fly-by-wire computers have a ton of protections. And one of these protections is, well, you should not stall. And the problem is when you go very low, you have a very small limit of load factor you can apply, right? If you're very close to stall speed, you can put, I mean, just 1G. If you're exactly at stall speed, it's 1G. So basically, when you pull the elevator, nothing happens. You have no elevator authority because if you pull the elevator, you will stall. But an airliner doesn't allow you to get close to stall speed or close to stall angle of attack at all, right? So it is going to prevent you to go there. And the problem we had is there was a bug in the formula, which basically meant that if you were going at approach speed, the fly-by-wire was thinking that you're already too close to stall. And so when you pull the yoke, basically almost nothing happens.
Gotcha.
That bug has been fixed.
Nice.
And I think it has been fixed in a previous update already. So, and from what I know on the A320, it's close to gone, right? If you are on final and you're really slow, like, I don't know, usually you approach at stall speed plus 30% or something. If you're at that speed, normally you should still be able to pull maybe 1.3 G or something. So if you pull the yoke, it's still gonna go up. It's not gonna go up as much as when you're going faster. And normally that should also be the case for the 787. Before that fix, the 787 was extremely hard to land. You had basically to go over speed. If you go at approach speed, you had almost, you couldn't go up. And so, it was hard to land. I tried again with the 787 at approach speed, and I was able to go up because you can now pull 1.3 G approximately, maybe a little bit more. The problem is if someone goes too slow, the same thing will happen again. Whenever you go too slow, the plane wants to go down, because basically stalling is even worse in an airliner than crashing into the ground. Because if you stall, you crash anyway. And so I think we will look into this again, but this is specifically a fly-by-wire bug, which has been at least addressed in some cases. There's the cause here, under 50 feet. That's the same thing for both airliners. Under 50 feet, the fly-by-wire disables. And you go back to manual mode. And basically, the problem here is we get into this twitchiness issue, which has been reported on various planes. And so this has not been addressed yet on A320. I think we've made it a little bit better, but we've started to change the way the inputs are applied to the basically all the control surfaces. The issue here being that basically on a PC, the yoke, you have a totally different feel. There's no force feedback. Basically the range of motion is totally different, and it never really feels exactly like a real plane. But yet you need to give the user the impression like a real pilot, right? You cannot give them, like on a real plane. I can't just pull 100% of my yoke when I'm going very fast because it's just too hard, right? And I'm pulling too many G's, and you feel it, and you don't want to go there. On a plane in a sim, well, you can pull 100%, it doesn't do anything, and the plane is gonna do 10 Gs and whatever. It allows you to do stuff you would never do in real life because of all the forces. And so there's the system which basically doesn't give you exactly the same authority than in a real plane. It accounts for the forces that are supposed to prevent you from doing this stuff. And these curves have been changed, and in order to feel as much real as possible and get rid of this twitchiness issue. And this is all based on pilot and simmer feedback. And we've done this on 5 planes, I think, in this update right now. And basically, if it's successful, we're gonna roll it out on every other plane. And this is gonna make the A320 better, I mean, less sensitive and easier to control when you get out of fly-by-wire, which is below 50 feet. And that's one of the issues which is going to be fixed. And what other stuff? And so if the question is, do we also improve planes or just the SDK? No, we're working on planes every day.
Okay.
Every day we're changing and improving the planes, and pretty much almost every plane is getting little improvements based on all the feedback we see. We continue to work with pilots. We have hired even more pilots into the team who are reviewing planes every day. We have hired, we have had more consultants coming in and reviewing our planes. And there's a huge backlog on all the planes of little, it's small improvements, right? But it's, I don't know, it could be stuff like we get feedback on the Cap 10, where the roll rate is a little bit low, stuff like that. And we keep improving all the time.
Okay, yeah. So it sounds like you're, while we really are supporting third-party devs, we're also fixing a lot of the aircraft handling and bugs on the plane. So we're kind of doing both. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I said that last time. I just want to land that again. One of the beautiful things about this genre and this industry is that there are people who are passionate about making things, and they make either airports or planes or weather airlines or whatever. And I mean it when I say supporting the third parties is super important, because they are going to be long-term dedicated people that will take care of the things that they take on. Like, and when they are study level airliners, I think what Seb just said, we're going to make sure that our base sim planes are fully flyable, and we are clearly listening to the feedback, and there's bugs, right? Yep. And sometimes it's systemic bugs that need to be fixed anyways. But there's currently no ambition to make like every single airliner study level. Because at some point or another, we think we would undermine people that have been in this business for a long time, and frankly, they're celebrated by the community that they do that. So we don't want to step on other people's feet. That said, we're gonna keep fixing the bugs that we think are in the range of things that we should do. But like, is it like our ambition to make every button operable? Not really, because then we're not dealing with the things we should, which are, it's not even on the list today, like helicopters and things like that people want. Like, at some point, we either go broad or we go super deep. I believe as a platform, we need to have a really strong SDK so other people can be successful. And we're going to get broader in order to make other things possible. Like, people want afterburners and all of these other things. So we need to not go too deep on one rabbit hole, because it's just going to take the entire team's time away. So hopefully that makes sense.
Okay. This is kind of related. And I'll apologize because I think I kind of asked the question wrong last month. So this is related to a scenery gateway system. So I'll just read through this question. We would love to know how a system for users to modify default airports is coming along, as well as plans to allow users to upload these airports using a set library of sim objects, nothing custom, into the base sim for all users to be able to have after being approved. The biggest reason for the system is to be able to fix inaccurate taxiway names and old airport layouts at every single airport, so that we can fly realistically on networks like VATSIM and or use airport charts accurately. So we kind of started talking about this last time. So do you guys have any more feedback regarding this request?
I would say I'm looking at it here, like there's 4 different things that are all called under investigation. Well, I'll exclude the airports in South Korea. We'll get to those at some other time.
Okay.
But, there are things. I think the general question is, how do we interact with community produced things? And I spent a ton of time on that since we last talked. And so we are duly impressed. So our team played all this, Flyby Wire A320, the work entitled CJ4. We looked at their Garmin work, and it's cool. It's the only way to say it. It's cool. Those people know exactly what they're doing. I would just say we want to find a way to work with them, and we don't quite know how. So here comes a public service announcement: msfsim@microsoft.com. Because we can't even figure out exactly who to talk to, because the entity, there is an open source option for us to interact with, but we need to talk about this. We would love to find a way to get this work integrated somehow. We just need to have a conversation. So I say this one more time. Certainly for those groups, there's a few others that are doing really cool work. msfsim@microsoft.com, and we will reply to your email, because we couldn't find yours, quite frankly. So please, let's have a dialogue. And yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting work. This is very similar. I just want to say that with the gateway system. So
sure.
Last time in the conversation, we didn't get to it, but I actually went back and read all the comments that were in the chat, which was a lot. It was very clear what people want, and we need to figure out a system. So I again would say the same thing. Please contact us, because we should work together on what is the best way. like we're totally open to it. Like it's the right thing to do. But we need to figure out like, have you done this before elsewhere, and how did that work? What is the best? What tools do you need? Those types of things. So but we need to have a dialogue.
Perfect. Yep, that's msfsim@microsoft.com. Did I get that right? I could put it in chat. Perfect. Yeah, and that's where it starts. I already know of one group that was wanting to kind of help make this tool, so I'm sure they're going to reach out to you there. So thank you for giving us that email. Yeah, I see people in chat say I'm emailing you. So I'm sure you'll see a lot in that inbox shortly.
Awesome. I mean, I'm honestly super excited. This stuff, we had our biggest plane expert here on Microsoft side look at the Flyby Wire, and he's like, man, this stuff's great. And the same with the CJ4. It's awesome. Like, I mean, that's why it's so great to work. When we say, let's work with the community, I didn't quite imagine that far, but you know, it's impressive, and it's just such good news. It'll make the sim better.
Yeah. Okay, I see this in chat. I was getting to this question. Patience is key, but we're going to talk about LOD now, LOD. So this was, I think, the 12th most voted. There's currently several limitations concerning draw, distance, and LOD. Since computers and technologies change frequently, would it be possible to increase the value of existing levels of detail options to 600/800, having separate LOD control for terrain and photogrammetry, draw distance options separately for building and trees, where people could tweak their own scenery graphics according to their system, etc. So I know you guys wanted to talk about this, so I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, so more specifically at this question, yes. Adding more detail to the graphics options, yeah, possible. Expanding the limits, yeah, it's just a limit, right? It's just a number. I don't think we are going to yet push up, for example, our ultra level from where it is right now. We're waiting. So as I explained earlier, we're bringing in more performance improvements in the next updates. We're heavily focused on performance right now, and trying to continue get out of the engine and the sim everything we can in terms of performance. And I think once we have more performance, we can maybe add another level above ultra, I don't know, or just expands the sliders. So yeah, this is going to be added, and it's pretty easy to do. So I don't know, you can add as many options as you want, right? We don't even want to, we don't also want to clutter this screen, so we have to select what exactly, but yeah, having maybe separation for terrain and photogrammetry, why not? Awesome. I'm trying to take the opportunity of this question to ask a question to the community. We've seen a lot of people complaining about a LOD change or bug or something which has changed in the visual detail in one of the updates. And so the issue is that we haven't deliberately, or nobody here has done any change to that. And we have said, so we said on the investigation, so people have spent a lot of time looking at screenshots from different versions, going back even to videos, and we didn't see any or find any difference. And so we haven't found yet what it is. And so the issue is that when you look at forums and so, a lot of people take it as a given that there was a change, and the proof points are hard to find. And so if people have actually, I don't know, screenshot before, after something where, I mean, obviously it has to be the same setting, right? If you are an ultra before and ultra after, and the same applies for anti-aliasing, there's also been complaints, and same thing, if it has to be the same settings, and not people who would have installed, I don't know, some graphic card provider too, which allows you to override anything or something like this. But we haven't done any change to either anti-aliasing or LODs yet. Our goal was to look into pushing it further, as we said last time, and take advantage of all the performance improvements to push out the max limit. And so we haven't found so far what it could be, right, that was causing this on some users' machines. I've also looked at a lot of YouTuber videos of the latest build. I didn't see any degradation or anything that was like popping and saying, okay, oh, this doesn't look as detailed as it used to be. And so if anyone has more information, exactly, we can look more. But so far we haven't seen or found that. And so pushing it further and adding more details, yes, obviously, of course, we're continuously making improvements on performance, and not everybody wants to have 60 or 90 FPS. Yeah. A lot of people are happy with 30, and these people will be happy to give them sliders to push it a lot higher, a lot more detail, to just get 30 FPS with more detail instead of 60 with less detail. obviously, yes.
That would be an
We've
awesome
got yes.
custom
We've
feature.
got already some information in the chat.
Okay, that's
I
great.
would have to.
So this is a really quick one, but this is about the mixture fuel incorrectly simulated. I know, Seb, you already commented on that. This one, if you want to let the community know what you found.
So this one, I mean, so actually there was 2 bugs. One bug which has already been fixed by someone in the team over the last weeks, and another one which basically by reading this feedback, we went into the code and found it today. So this should be fixed with the next. So not the one which insert, because this we can't touch anymore, but with the next update. And yeah, now I tested on several planes, and basically if you go full rich, the consumption goes up and fuel flow goes up. It doesn't go back down. And also the rich setting was a little bit too rich. We did more research and adjusted it a little bit, but now it's more realistic on all planes. So this is going to be update 6.
That's awesome. So we are at time, so I'm just going to ask one more question that seems like it'd be great to end on, one of the top voted ones. So Microsoft Flight Simulator 1 year from now, what is your vision? Where do you guys want to see the sim realistically in 1 year? And if there's any specific features you're hoping is going to really be improved by then, we'd love to hear from you.
Whoa. Sure, you should talk about that.
Yeah, probably different visions, but like I would say, like first off, I would like we're going to be 5 world updates in, so the world's going to look better. But I believe there will be 200 plus third-party airports, which is great. I think there will be a ton of planes coming from third-party. There will be planes coming from us. We haven't announced any yet, and it's not the right time, but we're certainly working on other things. I think there are going to be new capabilities. There's going to be things that make the sim a little bit more engaging in a way that is sort of elongated, meaning there's things you can, it's the wrong way to say career, but we think a lot. We heard that in the feedback plenty, that people would like something to do that is a little bit more, you know, not prescriptive, but yeah, things to do basically. And so we're working on all those types of things. We'll be out on Xbox sometime in the next year. Hope that VR is going to be great. Yeah, and I think the skies are going to be fuller. Like I think all that, it's just going to improve across the board with some very discrete things that I think are going to be delightful. And today is not the exact time to announce everything we're doing in the next year, but there's a ton of stuff on the way, which is super cool.
Yeah. Flight model wise, we have multi-threaded the flight model, so we haven't used the power, but this gives us a lot more power. So we have we're receiving a lot of feedback on the flight model, also in terms of not in terms of pilot or simmer feedback, more like dev feedback coming a lot from third parties with improvements. So there's a lot of improvements to the flight model coming, which will enable, I would say, stuff for third parties, but also enable us to do little improvements. And so the accuracy of the simulation, and we're also planning on more visual, not really debug, but something which users can use, because the flight model is very, very, it's really intricate. It's really built into the environment, right? The weather is very important in the flight model, and the air and the turbulence of the air. And a lot of the stuff that people see or complain about is actually not some of it has already been fixed in the past. When, for example, the plane was fishy, it was actually the turbulence. It wasn't really the flight model. And so ways to visualize more the flight model, what it is doing and what the air is doing around the plane. This is also something we're planning, so that basically we get. I think it's great when you're flying and a pilot to see what is happening. When you're in an airplane, you feel a lot more the air, and you're sort of more in contact with the environment and the turbulence of the air. But for example, people have already been doing this. When you shut down your engine, you're trying to glide, and sometimes you look at the altimeter and you're going up, and you're like, oh, and there's just an updraft. Being able to visualize these things and to understand them, I think it helps you to see that this is actually realistic, and it's something which is happening because for a reason, and it's not the plane which is flying in the air for some bug reason or something. I think this is something we are doing because it's going. We currently held back a little some of the effects. For example, in a thunderstorm cell in real world, you can get updrafts which go very, very high, very strong, like 10,000 feet per minute is possible. I mean, when you look at the updraft records on the planet, they are incredible. And we sort of limited this because nobody would understand a 10,000 feet per minute updraft right now in the sim. It wouldn't make any sense. But once more tools are in there for users to understand what is actually happening, we're going to be able to basically take out the limits to allow for what is actually happening to be felt in the sim. So I'm very excited about these improvements rolling out over the next year also.
Mm-hmm.
I have one more.
Yeah, okay, sorry.
I had one more joking thing to add. It's because I was just, like, as Seb was answering, I was reading. So out of the 23 things that we're currently listing in the wish lists, I think 20 of them will be different.
Nice.
That's where I think we're going to be there.
Yes,
I like that answer.
As a production guy now, I can tell you there is there's no area on which we are not still working. Right,
Mm-hmm.
We're working on every single topic of the sim, and the team it's bigger than ever. So it's not
Maybe
like we are. Yeah.
That's a good point. Like,
Yes.
we are growing the team on all sides. Like, so
Mm-hmm.
we're growing the team on the Microsoft side. Asobo's growing the team.
Mm.
This has been, like, honestly, and you made it that. This has been a great success, and it's seen as that at Microsoft. This is a great success, and it's because you guys engaged and you're here, and we're here too. And so we're growing this, and we're going to make this just awesome. Like, that is our commitment. Like, we're listening. Hopefully you feel that we're listening.
Mm-hmm.
And we're also acting. We're not just talking about stuff. We're bringing updates currently every 2 weeks, which is a lot. I don't know if we can always do every 2 weeks, but fundamentally, this is a platform that is thriving, and I think we see it from third party. I think we see it hopefully from us. And yes, it takes some patience, which is always difficult, but I think it's going to be just an awesome thing, an awesome journey to be on. I'm super excited. I know you guys are super excited. So hopefully
I see we did contrails. It's coming very soon.
Coming very soon. That's exciting.
Yes.
Okay. Can't tell us what update it's in yet, Martial?
No. There is in a very soon update.
we just actually talked about this. How do we do the numbering of updates?
Yes.
Understood. Oh, well, yeah. Thank you to you three for joining us here today and answering. Of course, there's a lot more questions, but we are doing this every month, so we'll hopefully get more questions answered next month, as well as, when we're not doing these, we're always looking at the forums, and if there's questions we can answer in there.
Just know that we go through all the things that you wrote just now. We're going through it. Not because we're obviously talking, but we will study everything that was said, and it'll all impact what we do. So thank you for engaging, and thank you obviously for being here today, and let's keep doing this. Awesome.
Thank you, chat, and look forward to update 5 coming very soon.
Thank you.
Tomorrow's Thursday, so we'll have the dev update out there. Hopefully maybe some patch notes for you guys to read. We appreciate you. We will see you next month, but engage with us. We got Twitch streams like 3 times a week, as well as we're always on the forums. So we'll see you around. Bye, everyone, and thank you to you guys. Have a great week.
Bye, and thank you. Bye.
Bye.